Hi, welcome back to Cricut Design Space Tutorials with your Cricut coach, Rebecca from Hops and Hospitality. Today I am popping in to show you how and when to use the group and ungroup functions in Cricut Design Space. So if you're a beginner, I know that group, attach, and weld are some of the most overlapping functions early on, and it can be tough to decide how and when to use them and how they differ. So in this first tutorial, I am going to focus only on group and ungroup and talk to you about the right way to use these functions. So as you can see, I have already started in a blank new canvas, and I am going to scroll over to images, and I'll just drop in a sunflower design today. Let's go ahead and make it a nice gold just to look at. Now I am on a Mac, and I know that I can hold down Command C as my shortcut to copy and Command V as my shortcut to paste. But you can also make sure once your image is highlighted, just scroll right on over to the right and click duplicate, and you will see that it will duplicate your image. So I went ahead and let's put 5 sunflowers here. Now I'm not going to print out this image, so I'm not going to worry too much about whether they are aligned perfectly symmetrically, and that is a feature we do talk about in another video if and when you are ready to focus on perfection, but let's just learn some of the basics for now. So let's say this is the exact layout of the sunflowers I want, but I realized that I needed to make them all a little bit larger. So rather than taking one at a time and dragging them and trying to make sure that everything is still in the same general proportion as I started with, let's undo. One thing I can do is group these images so that Cricut Design Space treats each one of these 5 images as one image. A quick way to do that is to move your cursor outside of the image and click and hold down so that you can draw a box around every image you want included in this grouping. And once they're selected, go on over to the right onto this right side menu bar, and at the very top you'll see group. Go ahead and click that. And now you will notice that when I go try to click this top sunflower to resize it again, I cannot click it individually. I now get the entire selection of sunflowers. What this allows me to do is resize all of the pieces in this new image while staying in the exact same proportion as I have them currently. So you will see now if I use this bottom right tool to resize the image, I can drag and make each sunflower larger like I wanted while still keeping the space in between and not having to rearrange them. It works the same way. I can make them all smaller without having to drag each one individually and hope that I now have the right size or start the pattern over. So this is one great way to use the grouping tool. It also helps if you decide that you need to move the whole image to the right or left. So that's one reason that I use the group tool. Now, what's nice about the group tool is that you can also ungroup at any time. And we will talk about how this differentiates with the weld feature later. But for now, you will know that with this item selected, when I scroll back to the right, it no longer shows me the group feature as something I can select. That is because there is nothing new in this image to add into the grouping. What I can do is ungroup and get each flower back individually like we had early on. Now I will show you, I have regrouped these, and let's say I want to add some text, and I want to say, love grows here. I can center this. And let's say I want to add this text. Now, if you're not sure how I'm changing the proportions of the text or what this unlock button did, we have a video for that. So please go back to our channel and check that out. We also have some printable cheat sheet guides on our website at cricutcoaching.com that will give you quick resources for some of those. Now, let's say I love where this is at now, and I love the look of this whole design, but I want to make it all just a little bit smaller so it fits the project board I'm working on. Right now, you can see that the grouping highlights each flower in dark gray. That means that they are all selected. And this L, the beginning of my Love Grows Here text, is not highlighted. So I can either hold down Shift and click on the text on the image, and you'll now see that it's also dark gray in this right-hand bar, or I can hold down Shift and just simply click this line item itself in the menu bar as a quick way to make sure all of the right pieces I want are selected. So you'll see here, before I select Love Grows Here with the flowers only, I cannot click group because there is nothing new I'm trying to add to the group. I can hold down Shift, add the text piece, and suddenly I can group because I now have included the text in this item. Once again, you can see I can drag it, make it larger, smaller, and just as it did before, it now includes the text piece in the design. Now, if I've decided I don't want the text piece any longer, I can simply go back up, click Ungroup, and what has happened here is because I grouped in sections, so think about stapling a piece of paper. If you staple 3 pieces of paper together, and then you add on another 2 pieces and staple them, when you undo the first staple, you'll get 2 pieces of paper off, but there's still a second staple hanging out there on those original 3 pieces, right? So if that makes sense, and you can kind of think about this grouping here, what you'll notice is we kind of stapled on the Love Grows Here piece after we had already stapled this bundle of 5 sunflowers. So now I can move this Love Grows Here, and it's no longer in a group, but my sunflowers stayed in their group because they were already stapled in our little metaphor here, and they will continue to be grouped unless we tell them otherwise. So in this case, let's say I just wanted to be able to make the text larger, change it a little bit. Maybe I decided I wanted to change the saying or slant it like this. And in that way, we can change around the design without having to group and ungroup the entire image or the pieces we know we already loved and had perfectly. Now, the final thing I do want to point out is earlier when we duplicated to make each of our sunflowers, we did them one at a time. And once an object is in a group, Cricut Design Space treats it as though it is a single image. So let's say I decide I want to add one more sunflower right into the middle because I've moved the text and now I just want it to be a background image. If I select the sunflowers and I duplicate, I will get a set of all 5 sunflowers again, as shown here. So this is another time that you may want to highlight your item, ungroup, so that you can select a single sunflower to duplicate and add where you'd want it. And in this case, if we wanted to regroup each sunflower, this is a time that you'd want to hold down Shift and click, or go over to your right menu bar and Shift, click each one, because once again, if we selected the entire box, we'd be capturing the Love Grows Here. In this case, I do not want the text, so I will highlight each one and group them again. And we will talk about arrangements in another video, but I can simply send these all to back so that you can see what we've done here. And now I can change this whole grouping if I've decided I want it to be larger or smaller. With that, you have the basics under control for grouping and ungrouping. We've talked about how and why you would want to use each feature and how they can be used to keep proportions or change proportions, but only for the right images. Group and ungroup is a really great feature for most projects, and it's also very, very forgiving. It also does not factor into the colors you're working with or what mats your items are going to print out on. So one final piece I do want to point out is that you will learn if you change a material color in a grouping, it will change everything in that group. However, if I ungroup this and I select only certain items to change colors, I can go back to having them all in a group and they will keep their individual colors. This is important because attach and weld do something differently, and it will matter when you go to actually print or cut the design out. Here, grouping is really for your benefit as you're working in Cricut Design Space and changing proportions and moving around images. So once again, if I, let's say, send this to back and I love this image exactly as it is here, and I go to make it, you will see that it has not actually created groupings on the mat, and it has not changed the colors of all 6 flowers. This is very, very different than attach, and it will be very important for you to learn that piece if you want to cut out the image exactly as it looks here. So if you're not sure about that piece just yet, go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you check out our follow-up videos on attach and weld, and we'll make sure that by the end of it, you will feel incredibly comfortable with each of these features and know how, when to use them, and get your project right every time. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.